How can you tell what key you're in? Simple answer. The notes that you are playing is what determines what the key is. Because a key is a specific group of notes. Typically 7 notes make up a key. So, most popular music right now, and for a very long time, has been derived from the major scale. And the major scale is basically what key you're in. So the C major scale is the key of C. So, major goes along with the key. Whatever major scale you're playing, that's the key you're in. So let's talk about, how you figure out, the keys, and we're going to be going through all of them, all the keys that are from the major scale. So I'm not going to be going into harmonic minor, melodic minor, especially not the 6-tone and 8-tone scales and stuff like that. This is just your basic stuff to start with. Very good foundation to have, and once you understand this stuff, it makes it easier to branch out into the more exotic scales, altered scales, and so forth. So, what I have up here at the top, the W's and H's, that is the major scale formula. The major scale formula is comprised of whole steps and half steps. A whole step is 2 frets apart. A half step is 1 fret apart. So let's say you're on the 5th fret of any string. You want to go up a whole step. You go from 5 to 7. You add 2. If you're on the 10th fret and you want to go down a whole step, you go from 10 down to 8. You subtract 2. Same idea with the half step. You just add 1 to go up a half step, subtract 1 to go down a whole step, or a half step, sorry. So we got to start with key of C, because it's, basically the place you always go to when you start learning theory, because it has no sharps and no flats. Every note is natural. That's what a natural note is. It means it is not sharp or flat. So what you have here, so you start on C, and then you follow along the major scale formula, and you see that it all adds up. So C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A, whole step, A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step. So, following that formula of going whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, takes you from starting at the root note and brings you back to the root note as you go through that. So, this is the formula you use to figure out the notes in your key, in your major key. So again, it doesn't apply to melodic minor, harmonic minor, the altered stuff. You can still use a similar formula for modes, because you basically would be starting with the same formula, but just in a different spot. So like, if you were to do like the Dorian one, you would start on, that. You just go whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. But I suppose that might make things a bit too confusing. So we're just going to concentrate on this, the major scale formula, because the major scale is what determines the key you are in ultimately. So next, I'm going to do the key of G. So we start with a G, and now I'm going to apply the major scale formula and see what happens. So we go up a whole step from G, that's A. Whole step up from A is B. Half step up from B is C. Whole step up from C is D. Whole step up from D is E. A whole step up from E is F sharp. And then a half step up from F sharp, we come back to the root note G. So remember, between E and F is a half step. So between your natural notes B and C is a half step apart, E and F is a half step apart. Everything else is a whole step apart. So when you break away from that, that's when you come up with sharps and flats. And now notice I used every single note name in our musical alphabet. Basically every note name, meaning A through G, is used. So when you look at it this way, when you're spelling out the notes for keys, you have to use all 7 note names. You cannot leave out a note, whether it's sharp, flat, or natural. So there's the 7th one here. It has to be F something, because E came first and then G came after that. So it has to be F something. It has to be accounted for. That's why we're calling this F sharp and not G flat. Yes, F sharp and G flat are the same tone with 2 different names, but when going in order of all the note names that we have and using all of them, that's why it's F sharp and not G flat. Because if we didn't say F sharp, we would be leaving out an F. Okay? So let's try the next key. Now we'll do the key of D. So a whole step up from D is E. Another whole step up, we go from E to F sharp. Half step up from F sharp is G. Whole step up from G is A. Whole step up from A is B. And then a whole step up from B is C sharp. And a whole step up from C sharp brings us back to the root note, D. So, just following along with the major scale formula, that's what we have different now. So remember, the key of C had no sharps or flat notes, all natural notes. The key of G had an F sharp. The key of D has an F sharp and a C sharp. So I am going in order of keys that will have 1 more sharp until we get all 7 sharps. So, and that's also referred to as the circle of fifths. If you don't know what that is, and I can do a video of that too, just let me know if that is what you want. So there we go, key of D. So let's go to the next. So now we have the key of A up, which gives us A, B, whole step up to C sharp, half step up to D, E, whole step up to F sharp, whole step to G sharp, half step back to A. Let's look at the key of E like this. So starting with the key of, or starting with the note E, what you can do is write out, like if you're working on this by yourself and you really want to help yourself understand, it's always a good idea to write these things out, and it makes you remember this stuff so much better than just watching the video. Apply it yourself and you'll retain the information much better. So you can start off with this exercise. You have E as your root note, so write out all 7 note names plus the root note again. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. So what you want to do now is apply the major scale formula and add sharps or flats after the note name to make the formula true. So if we go E up a whole step, it's not F, it's F sharp. So we add in the sharp. So now the formula says we must go up a whole step from F sharp. F sharp up a whole step isn't G, it's G sharp. So we add that in. Going up a half step from G sharp is A, so that is correct. Whole step up from A is B, so that's correct. Whole step up from B is not C, it is C sharp, so we add in the sharp sign after C to make that correct. A whole step up from C sharp is D sharp, not D natural. So we add in the sharp sign here. And yes, the half step up from D sharp is E. When you go this route and you write everything out at the beginning, the root note is always going to be the same at the end. If you somehow wind up saying the root note at the end is sharp or flat, you made a mistake somewhere, and you're going to want to go back and see what happened. So let's walk through that exercise example one more time so key of B now. So starting on B, we go up a whole step. It is not C, it is C sharp. So we add in the sharp sign. A whole step up from C sharp isn't D, it's D sharp. So we add in the sharp sign there. A half step up from D sharp. Yes, that is E, so we leave that as is. That is correct. A whole step up from E is F sharp. So we need to add the sharp sign here. Going up a whole step from F sharp is not G, it is G sharp. And a whole step up from G sharp is A sharp, not A. And a half step up from A sharp is, yes, B. So, again, all 7 notes are being accounted for. All the note names. So no matter what, you know, this has to be C something, this has to be D something. It's either going to be sharp or flat. Also, to keep in mind, if you are doing things correctly and you are doing this stuff from the major scale, anything derived from the major scale, you will not mix sharp and flat notes together. So that's another thing. If for some reason, like you label this D sharp and then you say that's G flat, well, you know it's not a G flat. It has to be F sharp because you can't mix sharps and flats when spelling out all the notes in the major keys. Alright, a lot of stuff on the board now. So I wrote out what we've done so far and completed the rest, -1. I'll explain that in a second. So again, key is C. See, there are no sharps or flats. Everything is natural. Key of G, if you follow the formula correctly, you wind up with an F sharp. Key of D, following the formula correctly, gives you an F sharp and a C sharp. So this is what is making it different. This is what the keys are. I mean, you can look at it like what keys have these sharps. So the key of, what did I leave off on? The key of D, so key of A, we had the C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. The next key, E, will have F sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and D sharp. The key of B has C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. The key of F sharp, so you might be wondering, why am I going to the key of F sharp and not the key of F? Because these are the keys that have sharps in them, sharp notes. The key of F does not have a sharp, but the key of F sharp does. So we have F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. B is the only one that has not changed. B is still natural. C sharp, D sharp, yes. E sharp. There is absolutely an E sharp. So when you read about or listen to videos, whatnot, that say there's no such thing as an E sharp, it's just F. When you follow theory rules, yes, there is absolutely an E sharp, just as there is such thing as an F flat. It really depends on what your root note is and where you go from there. That determines the note names that you use. Because going up a whole step from D sharp and using all 7 note names, because D is in the 6th position. D sharp happens to be what it truly is. So the next one up, in the 7th position, it has to be E something. You can't skip it. You can't skip E to F. Even though we typically call that tone in F, in this case, we're calling it E sharp. That is the proper name for it. So yeah, going up from D sharp up a whole step is E sharp, and then up a half step from E sharp is F sharp. So now let's look at all the keys with flats. Almost forgot, let's do one more key that has sharps in it. Key of C again, no sharps, no flats. Well, what if we sharp the root note there? Key of C sharp. Well, if you sharp the root note of a key that has no sharps or flats, that means you just sharped everything. So that means you have C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp. So again, yes, E sharp exists. B sharp most definitely exists. Okay, now we're going to look at the keys that have flats in them. So I didn't put the key of C to start with at the top because no flats. So the first one's going to have a flat is the key of F. So again, we are taking our major scale formula. So we'll try and walk through this quickly. So we're going up a whole step from F to G, whole step G to A, half step up to B flat, and then the rest is correct. Whole step up from B flat to C, whole step to D, whole step to E, half step to F. So this means we have key of B flat. Now when you're doing keys with flats, sometimes it's referred to as going in the circle of fifths backwards. It's basically the same thing as doing a circle of fourths. So if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 notes in, you know that's going to be the root note of the next key that contains 2 flats now. So you got the key of B flat going here. And from here, we just, again, apply the formula. So we go up whole step, yes, that's C. Whole step, yes, that is D. A half step up from D, that's E flat. And then, yes, whole step up from E flat is F, whole step to G, whole step to A, half step to B flat. So E flat, I might as well flat all these root notes here because that's what it's going to be. Alright, key of E flat. So yes, up a whole step is F, whole step to G, half step to A flat. And there's a pattern here. So far the fourth one keeps getting a flat. Whole step to B flat, whole step to C, whole step to D, half step to E flat. Now A flat. Whole step up is B flat, whole step up is C, half step to D flat, whole step to E flat, whole step to F, whole step to G, half step to A flat. So now we got the key of D flat, so we go up whole step to E flat, whole step to F, half step to G flat, then we go a whole step again, that's A flat, whole step again, B flat, whole step again to C, and half step to D flat. So now we have the key of G flat, go up a whole step, we have A flat, whole step again, B flat, half step is C flat. Whole step up is D flat. Whole step again, we have E flat. Whole step there is F. And then a half step up from F is G flat. Which brings us down to the key of C flat. So that means everything is flat. So there we go. That is that covers every single key, every major key, all the sharps, all the flats, every single one. So I do understand that is a lot to take in. When I was learning this stuff, there's sometimes it just confused the hell out of me. Absolutely, just confused the hell out of me. But I think some things to take away from this. You will not mix sharps and flats when you are working with anything that comes from the major scale, okay? Now, that's why I say it comes from the major scale. If you're working with harmonic minor, yeah, you will have sharps and flats mixed, absolutely. And of course, that depends on what key you're in as well. But anyway, so in yeah, I'm kind of losing my thought here trying to conclude all this stuff. But yeah, remember, you won't mix sharps and flats when you're working with the major scale, meaning sharp and flat notes, they won't mix. You want to have all 7 note names accounted for, and you will always use the major scale formula to go from one place to the next. So if you memorize that thing, the whole, whole, half, whole, half. So another way to think of it is you got 2 wholes, then a half, 3 wholes, then a half. So really, if you remember 2 whole steps, 3 whole steps, like, well, what comes after the 2 whole steps? A half. What comes after the 3 whole steps? Another half. So 2 whole steps and a half, 3 whole steps, then a half. That's your major scale formula. And you start that anywhere on your fretboard, you got a major scale. And you got all 7 notes that make up that key. So again, I know it's a lot of information to take in. So if you have any questions with this, if something was not made clear enough for you, I do want to know. I do want you to tell me. I do want you to ask your questions. So this way, not only can I help you, but other people who will most likely have the exact same question you do. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful.